What if your training wasn't just about shooting better, but living with deeper conviction?
I think that having standards in all areas of your life are important. How do you relate to your spouse? Mm-hmm. How do you interact with your children? How do you go about your day job that pays the bills? If there's no standard, then it's easy to wake up one day and realize how far away from yourself you've become.
In this episode, I sit down with Mike Kinsey, a lead firearms instructor with Gunset Training Group, school board president, and man of unwavering faith, to explore why the why behind your actions matters more than ever before.
My absolute favorite question in the entire world is why? I hope that they ask me that a million times. I promise them that I'll never get annoyed by it, especially if I don't clearly explain something that I'm asking them to do. That's really important to ask why. But it's also really important at kind of this lowest level that as folks who are spending our hard-earned time and energy and money to go out and seek training, it's a great way to vet your instructors. You want to make sure that the skills that you're learning actually are applicable in your day-to-day life.
We dig into the responsibility of defending liberty, the power of community, and how aligning your values with your skill set can change everything.
If not now, when? And if not me, who? You know, if we all just do our little part that's assigned to us, some people have small parts and some people have big parts in different periods of their life. Mm-hmm. If that isn't completed by you, well, then the chaos and the entropy in the world just kind of crashes in and makes everything worse.
If you're ready to think deeper, train smarter, and lead better, this conversation is for you. Before we get started, make sure you're subscribed, whether you're watching on Rumble or YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you find this show. If you don't want to miss another episode, head to defenders-live.com and become a free subscriber. That way, every new episode gets delivered straight to your inbox. And if you're looking for top-tier firearms and self-defense training, go to defenders-usa.com and check the calendar to see what's coming to your area this year. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Defenders Live. I'm your host, Lora Thorson. Today's guest is Mike Kinsey. He's a professional firearms instructor since 2007, Rangemaster certified master pistol instructor, and lead rifle instructor with Gunset Training Group out of Dayton, Ohio. Mike has trained under some of the most respected names in the industry, from Tom Givens and Masad Ayub to Ed Monk and Haley Strategic. But what sets him apart isn't just skill, it's his conviction. He's a husband, a father, a follower of Christ, and a school board president who believes your training should align with your values. Mike is passionate about asking the deeper questions, starting with why, and helping others connect the dots between action, purpose, and personal responsibility. This is going to be a great interview, you guys. I'm looking forward to having Mike on the show. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Laura. How are you?
Great. Thanks for coming on today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and I want to start with something that's really relevant right now, very timely. You just got done with Freedom Fest, and you were telling me the sunburn tells the story. What is Freedom Fest?
Oh, well, first of all, I'm just absolutely still riding that high. So on July 3rd and July 4th, Gunset Training Group and our dear brothers and sisters down in North Carolina, Apache Solutions, we just put on what I think was a fantastic experience first that included phenomenal training in rifle skills, shotgun, pistol, trauma, medical training, as well as some intermediate, less lethal defensive options like how to use a flashlight and some training with pepper spray. But I think what I really love most, and I'd love to dig deep into any of those sections that you want about actually pressing the trigger. But what we really tried to do was to try to recreate the sense of community that Gunset and Apache feel whenever we get together. You know, we meet up at Rangemaster TACCon, we meet up at Girl and Gun National Conference. We travel to train down there, they travel to train up here. And there's just something, I don't know, kind of magical when you see those brothers from another mother that you don't get to see every day, but once every few months or a few times a year. Yeah. So we really tried hard to try and create an experience that at least I haven't seen anywhere else, with just lots of fun, dinner provided for all the students after each day, a fun party at the close of the event that included live music and games for kids, because I took my wife and 2 kids, and I know the other Gunset instructors did as well. We all traveled down to North Carolina together. So there's just kids running around, shooting squirt guns, eating watermelon, and a darn nice professional fireworks show at the very end. So it was just fantastic.
Yeah, I was commenting earlier. I saw the reel that you guys put on your Gunset training group page, and it was phenomenal. I felt like I was just put right in there and felt the experience alongside you guys. It was really, really cool. So, and I love that you're bringing a sense of community into the training space in a really thoughtful, authentic way, not just in, hey, let's get together and do this thing and then let's go home. I think that probably builds bonds and relationships and strengthens those over time in ways that maybe we can't do just on the gun range,
Yeah, and all credit needs to go to the Apache guys. They were our host, at least for this year. Stay tuned. We might see what happens next year, or 2026. But Tim Kelly, his wonderful saintly wife, Teresa, all the Apache families down there really put a ton of effort into trying to create what you just said. And, we've never done anything like this before. It was the first time out of the gate. So sometimes you wonder, how is this going to go? Mm-hmm. And I remember at the end of the 2 very full, very long days of training, we're sitting around, we're doing our closing thoughts. And when it was time for everybody to police up their gear and head to the cars, Tim asked, he said, hey, is there anybody who's not planning on coming to the big celebration here in just about an hour with the food and the music and the fireworks? And every single person said that they wouldn't miss it. So that told me right then and there, I'm like, okay, these folks are willing to not only stick around, but they're looking forward to coming back after 2 long, hot days on the range. It was really great. And while I think it all went well, of course, my judgment might be biased. So importantly, you have to ask some students, right? They're the ones that I'm really looking forward to hearing more of their feedback to see what they thought.
Yeah, I talked to Cassie this morning. She had nothing but rave reviews about it. She really appreciated. She learned a lot, but she said she also very much appreciated just the mere saturation of high-level instructors that were at their disposal. She said that there was a lead instructor and an AI, and then that each student had an assigned coach right next to them the entire time, which I thought, wow, that would be quite an experience to have. So
that's a rare commodity.
Dedication, Mike.
Yeah, that's a rare commodity, and that's something that we wanted to try to do. Knowing Gunpachi, bringing Gunset and Apache together, we took our whole crew down, and Apache has their whole crew. And to a person, everybody's very proficient in at least some of those blocks, and we certainly made good use so that everybody got quality one-on-one reinforcement after the lead instructor gave the lesson.
I think that means a lot to people, I really do. So let's switch gears here, because I'm actually considering maybe doing a second interview with some of the students and you and maybe Tim. I don't know yet. It's just kind of floating around in my head. But I do want to get to some of the questions I specifically had for you. And I want to lead off with this concept of why. It's so funny that this is a really important thing to you, because it reminds me actually of Adam Winch. And I remember taking my first class with him and him talking about why being so important to him and to his students and what he does in his training. And so you say that your favorite question is why, that action and values should align. And so I just wondered, could you walk us through how that principle shows up in your firearms instruction and how it should shape the way we prepare to defend what we love?
Absolutely. So I guess I could begin by saying that I start every one of the classes that I teach, after we do some introductions and we talk about what we're there to do, by making sure that all the students know my absolute favorite question in the entire world is why. I hope that they ask me that 1,000,000 times. I promise them that I'll never get annoyed by it, especially if I don't clearly explain something that I'm asking them to do. That's really important to ask why. But it's also really important at kind of this lowest level that as folks who are spending our hard-earned time and energy and money to go out and seek training, it's a great way to vet your instructors. You want to make sure that the skills that you're learning actually are applicable in your day-to-day life. I'm the first to admit that I've never kicked in mud hut doors in Fallujah. I've never had the honor of serving that way. I'm not someone who's employed to go out and serve felony warrants. Never had the honor of serving in that capacity either. So we try really, really hard at Gunset Training Group to make sure that we have a little bit of context going in. And then we, of course, continually read the room, that the vast majority of people that come to our open enrollment classes are just the average Joe that spends a lot of time shuttling his or her kids to and from soccer and walking through Kroger and Walmart. So those are really the skills that we need to fit into that worldview. So it's important to ask your instructor, well, why am I doing this? Or why would I ever use this technique? So that's kind of at the lowest level right there. Of course, we do law enforcement specific classes and whatnot, and that's a separate story. But my favorite thing in the world is whenever somebody can channel their inner 5-year-old. I remember when my kids were little and they'd ask a question and I'd answer it and they'd say, why? And I'd answer, why is the sky blue? Oh, well, why? Well, what is refraction? Why? You go down that rabbit trail. And usually that ends after 2 or 3 whys, especially when we're trying to do something applicable on the range. But when people actually look into themselves and go home, think about something that's important to them, whatever it may be, and keep following up with that why question, you can really get to some interesting places.
Yeah. Yeah. And part of the email that you sent me was a demonstration of how 7 levels deep of why got to the core, the deeper purpose, the deeper meaning of the technique that was being used, which I found so fascinating. I don't know if you'd like me to read that or if that is something you could share with us.
Sure. Well, we get questions all the time, and sometimes it puts you on the spot, the person that has to answer. So that's a good thing too. That's how we can all better know thyself. But so specific example, just pick something at random that we work on at the range, and say a student asks me, well, why are you asking me to position my support hand arm on the rifle in this way? And I could say something like, well, one reason is that it will help you better control recoil. And then they might say something like, well, why is that even important? Why am I even here with this rifle? Or a question that I get often, especially from folks kind of outside our community, why is an AR-15 even applicable in today's modern world when we have law enforcement, we have, Army, things like that? It's like, well, it's important because we should be proficient in valuing and defending anything that we value. It's like, well, why? What do you mean by that? It's like, well, so why an AR-15? I get it that most folks could think that a Glock 19 or an M&P or something is perhaps all that you need. And that could be very, very true in certainly the vast majority of situations that folks may find themselves in today, in this moment in history, in this location, in a certain part of America. But okay, perhaps a pistol can defend you. Perhaps a shotgun can defend your home really well, but a rifle can really only defend liberty. So, well, why does that even matter? Why is that? So our founding fathers, and we have an entire historical context of times where that was necessary and those skills were necessary. Well, why? Why was it necessary to defend those things? Our system of government is an experiment. It's unique in the world and throughout all of history that we specifically recognize individual rights, sovereign self-determination, self-government. Okay, why? Why did they do that? Why should that even matter to me today? Well, it matters because every single individual has inalienable rights that are not granted by government and cannot be taken away by government. Okay, why? Well, that's because our entire foundation of government is based on the fact that every single human being has value. So that's kind of, just one example, and that can go down many paths, but I kind of think of it like a train that's just chugging along the tracks. And some folks may choose to get off at stop number 2 or stop number 3, and that's totally fine. But if you stay on that train and you keep asking those why questions, why should we even care about what our American historical figures did 250 years ago? If you keep chugging down that track or keep climbing that ladder, not only do you get to better understand yourself, but better understand what it is that we're really supposed to be doing in terms of our American ideals, our American values, and why we should therefore train to be able to defend them.
That was really well said, Mike. I love how you broke that down so simply. I think I want to use that model of why in other areas of my life too. You know, could I just keep asking you why for the whole interview? And
I'm down. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm well caffeinated, so fire away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's part of the role of a good interviewer is to get past that surface level why and go deeper to the deeper why. And I think that is what resonates with people that are listening and people that are watching, because that certainly resonated with me when you got to the deeper levels and made me really think about deeply the reasons why I carry, why I train, why it's so important to me to be a protector in my family and in my community. And so it actually, I guess, how do I say, reinforces why.
Yeah, I would agree. I've heard many times, you're never going to hit the target unless you know what you're aiming at. Mm-hmm. And that's something, and we're all human and we all have our moments. But when I pause, I really try to be self-introspective, or this is great when I'm speaking to my children, and trying to help them through this crazy journey of growing up, but trying to be self-introspective and trying to figure out, okay, why do I actually want to do that? Or why am I telling myself I should do this other thing? Is it really important? If it is, I'm going to be able to keep asking why, and I should be able to answer that eventually.
Yeah, I think that is such an important aspect of growth as well, because I don't believe that if you can never challenge your own belief system or ask questions as to why you're doing what you're doing and never give it any real thought, I believe that then I just tend to operate in default mode without any real purpose or consciousness of my, showing up in the world. And I just find that to be so important. Yeah.
And I think it plays a lot. There's a lot of discussion about, say, motivation versus discipline.
I just posted about that this morning.
I saw that actually. And I know you're inspiring a lot of people on your fitness journey, which congratulations and kudos to you for that. But that's a big discussion in, say, the fitness world, or again, it could be in any part of your life. But to me, it comes down to why, whether it's motivation or whether it's discipline, however somebody defines those things, it really comes down to the why. Mm-hmm. We all know that if somebody's really in their fitness schedule, but then for whatever reason, they take 2 months off and you just sit on the couch and eat a bunch of Oreos, that you can start to be pretty neglectful of, okay, why was I even doing that thing in the first place? How can I get back on track?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the only reason I've been able to stick with it is because my why is very deep now. It's no longer a shallow, I just want to look good kind of thing. It's like the fitness for me is the byproduct of the deeper why. And so anyway, we won't talk about me though, Mike. Okay.
No, that's good.
I wanted to ask you sent me an email, and one of the things I asked you was about the most valuable lessons that you have gained from experiences in your life. And you said that most of the most valuable lessons have come in your experience from doing something that is hard and or sacrificial, with the caveat, especially if I undertake it voluntarily, which I thought was interesting. And I'm curious what you mean by that, and if you could give us an example.
So bottom line up front, I'm still trying to unpack this for myself. So maybe you and I together can unravel it a little bit more. I think it comes down to, man, we're getting deep here right off the bat. I've given a lot of thought about what is truly meant by the word joy. And especially when I think about that and the times in my life that I have experienced joy. And then when I compare that to biblical study that I do, particularly trying to dive in and, okay, what does that word joy mean? And one thing I know for certain is that joy is very different from happiness. Yeah. Happiness, I've decided for myself, is very much a fleeting, fickle emotion that just kind of dances in and out, and sometimes it surprises you when it's there. I've never been surprised by joy. So to answer your question, I find that when I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing, those are the moments of joy for me. And it's a very peaceful, calm joy. When I feel like I've discovered responsibility that's mine, whether in that moment or overall, and I'm shouldering that responsibility, and not in like, a beast of burden, oxen yoked to a heavy load that's just grinding and grinding and grinding every day, but shouldering responsibility well, even if it's something that you necessarily don't want to do.
Because it's the right thing to do. Is that why?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If not now, when? And if not me, who? If we all just do our little part that's assigned to us, some people have small parts and some people have big parts in different periods of their life. If that isn't completed by you, well, then the chaos and the entropy in the world just kind of crashes in and makes everything worse.
So I'm curious then, how has that sacrifice or that hard responsibility shown up in your life?
In a few different ways. I'll tell you right now, I get no happiness from going out and doing my deadlifts 2 times a week.
Some people like deadlifts.
I mean, I am a person, call it a slovenly nature or whatever, that I do not get any happiness from going out for a jog or going out to the gym. Usually my workouts are done in anger, and that's okay. And it gets me through. Maybe it puts an extra 5 pounds on the bar or something. So in very kind of mundane things like that. But again, that's something that we need to be doing. The reason why I, try to eat healthy every now and then, but I do stick to my workout routine, is I know that I don't want to be a burden on my family in old age. I do that as a gift of responsibility to my children as they grow up. So just very mundane things like that of why do I work out? Why do I make sure that more days than not, I try to get some really solid reading in? Every day I read my Bible, for the most part, but every single day I read my Bible. Why do I make sure that I get my dry fire in? Gunset Training Group, we're a big belief in standards. And so that's something difficult that I've chosen to undertake voluntarily. And if I may digress for a minute, let me know when you want me to circle back. But I know a lot of different groups have standards, and that's fantastic. I admire and attempt many of them. When we developed our Gunset standards, we kind of, myself, Scotty Cronin, Jonathan Willis, we sat down and put our heads together, and we decided that our standards didn't want to be something that it's like, okay, you're going to be known as one of the top 8 shooters in the entire world, and nobody else can match this level. That's perhaps more of a challenge or more of a trophy. Our standard needs to be challenging, yet very obtainable by just the average person who works a full-time job, 60 hours a week, has a mortgage, has kids, has everything else going on in their lives. So we put together and said, okay, what is a measure of accuracy and a measure in time, always balancing accuracy and speed, that somebody could come take a quality class one time, learn the techniques that they need to train, then go off, dry fire once, twice a week, and go to the range once a month for confirmation. And in 3 to 6 months of putting in that little bit of effort, that's where we want people to be able to be to meet our standards. And from then on, with just a little bit of maintenance and upkeep, our goal is every time you step to the line, you go cold, you give it a shot, and hopefully 9 times out of 10, you can meet the standards. So we have those standards set with rifle and with pistol and with shotgun. So that's something that I've undertaken that, if I ever go to the line with my buddies and we get together and we train every single Tuesday, that's been a huge blessing in my life. Every Tuesday we meet for 60 to 90 minutes. And if somebody just pulls out the standards targets, we're like, all right, let's step up. Let's see how we do. I think that having standards in all areas of your life are important. How do you relate to your spouse? How do you interact with your children? How do you go about your day job that pays the bills? If there's no standard, then it's easy to wake up one day and realize how far away from yourself you've become.
Yeah. That slow drifting off process, it can happen more quickly than one realizes, for sure. If you've been listening to Defenders Live and something in you knows it's time to go deeper, not just in your training, but in your life, become a paid subscriber of Defenders Live. Each month we meet for a live group call, having real conversations about physical growth, emotional discipline, and spiritual strength. You'll be part of a growing community of people just like you, committed to becoming true defenders of life and of their families. This isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, doing the work, and not doing it alone. So go to defenders-live.com and become a paid subscriber and take your next step toward becoming the kind of defender this world desperately needs. one of the standards that you guys have, I don't know if you consider this a standard, but didn't you guys develop the 52-week challenge? Could you explain to the audience what that is and how they can learn more about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So really our 52-week challenge, it starts off as an homage to our friend and mentor, Tom Givens. If anybody's ever taken one of his Rangemaster instructor classes at any level, and oh, by the way, you should. The entire track is phenomenal. And even if somebody doesn't want to be an instructor, showing up for the basic level class, just the knowledge that you will gain will certainly at least make you a better shooter and a better member of this community. But anyway, I digress. So an homage to Tom Givens of Rangemaster. When you go to one of his classes, just something fun that he's always done is he will put up a target that has a playing card. And the drill is he does it in his basic class from a low ready with a pistol, 5 hits on a playing card at 5 yards in under 5 seconds. And if you make your time and you make your hits, he comes by and he signs your card for you. And I could spin my camera around, and I've got 3 of those puppies hanging on a wall over there that my wife surprised me. She actually framed them because she saw I put them in a special place, and she hung them up for me. But so anyway, it's that in itself, doing that one time is a fantastic drill. It's not difficult if you've put in a little bit of work. You have to have a good enough stance, a good enough grip, good enough trigger control. So every now and then, we would play with that in our weekly training sessions. And then it was little over a year and a half ago, I just kind of showed up at one of our Tuesday training sessions I told you about, and I flipped everybody a brand new deck of cards. And they're like, oh, what's up with this? And I said, well, we are going to staple up 1 card every single Tuesday, and we're going to give it a go. So a little bit behind the scenes, I don't know if I've shared this publicly before, but kind of the reason I did that is that I found in myself every now and then when we had made that commitment to meet every Tuesday, to train together every week, that it was getting a little too easy to say, oh, you know what, it looks like rain out there today. Or, I've had a real hard one and the yard needs mowed, so I can't make it today. That was happening, at least for me, a few more times than I liked. So a little bit of ego and bravado. I flipped everybody a pack of cards, and I think I said something like, hey, whoever has the most attempts on a card at the end of 52 weeks, because there's 52 cards in a deck, 52 weeks in a year, whoever has the most amount of holes in a card wins. And the person has the least number of attempts, not that you had to make your card every single time, but the least number of attempts at a card, we're all going out and that guy buys the bar tab. So it was really just a way for us kind of to have some accountability and to get to the range. So we started doing that, and it did not take long at all until just the 4 or 5 of us that were partaking in that. We realized, okay, this is a lot of fun. So what we did and what we still do is that we step up to the line completely cold. We staple a card up. You can have 1 presentation coming out of the holster just in case you need to swap out carry ammo, and then right back in the holster, and you stand there and you wait for the beep. So that gives us 52 data points over the course of an entire year of what do you have on this day, in this weather, in this clothing that you showed up in. I always come straight from the office. What can you do on this card? And it's been really cool. So then that was kind of the genesis of it. And we really went deep and really started collecting a lot of metrics. And I know most of us take diligent notes of sometimes we miss one of those shots of the 5, and then we take some notes. Well, what do I think happened there? Oh, my grip was a little bit off or something. So that's been really cool. We started it just for us and just for fun. We were putting up pictures on Facebook. And then, I don't know, probably somewhere around week 12, week 13, somebody else posted up a picture and they said, hey, I'm doing the 52 card challenge too. We're like, well, that's pretty cool. And then more people kept sending us pictures, DMing us pictures, messaging us pictures. So then we created the Facebook group, which I hope everybody can go out and check out, the Gunset 52 week challenge 2025 for this year. And there's now hundreds, if not thousands of people across the country that have recognized the value of getting some recency in your training. Going out to the range, hopefully with buddies. We've heard that this has allowed people to find their range friends and find their own cadre and get to train together every week. Do your card cold, and then, hey, you're already there, so why not have a plan and work on a skill, something to progress yourself?
Maybe that's a form of put your shoes on, I wonder. Like you go there.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I have this thing I always say about putting my shoes on. And really what putting my shoes on to me in my fitness journey meant was that I had something that just gave me a reason to get started. So if I put my shoes on, my workout shoes and my workout clothes, well, then I had to go to the gym, and sometimes some days I could just barely even just do that. That seemed like hard for me. But once I got that and I did that, then the rest of it wasn't quite so hard. And I'm just wondering if that 52 card challenge might have the same effect where somebody's going like, oh, that's not that hard. I want to just do that. I want to try that. I'm curious about that. And that gets them on the range. But then while they're there, oh, well, I'm already here. Let's do some more shooting. Let's do some more training. Let's, maybe then they're making friends and connections and it just builds on it, So
I can 100% confirm that has been our experience with our group here.
That's cool. I love that.
Yep. So that was year one. And then just real quick, because that was last year, starting January 1st, we unveiled year two, which is a slight homage to our brothers at Apache Solutions. We modified a drill that they use a lot as part of their rite of passage. And instead of just one playing card at 5 yards, now you have two playing cards at 5 yards, one right here and one right here. And once again, at 5 yards and 5 seconds or less, 4 hits in the bottom card in transition to have 1 hit in the top card. So that's our year two variation, and people are having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Cool. Okay, well, I forgot what the question was, but
you're asking about the 52-week challenge.
Side street. No, I started with the lessons you've learned from doing hard things, I think. But yeah, let's see. And the 52 card challenge was another question that I had, but you led me right to it. So I just went right ahead and went for it. So, okay. So we told the audience in your bio in the intro that you're a man of faith. And this is another deep question, Mike, but I know that you would be the guy to ask this question to, especially now, just in the short time that I've gotten to know you. I'm really interested what your answer to this would be and what your thoughts are. My question is, as a man of faith, family, and freedom, how do you personally reconcile strength with humility and preparation with surrender and action with trust in God? And let me say, I just had a conversation this morning that exactly was about this, and I didn't even think about it until just now, which is like, I struggle with sometimes of, I'm a person of action, and you know this about me, right? But I struggle sometimes with doing the action and taking the bull by the horns kind of a thing, and the surrendering and trusting at the same time, and that is a hard balance that I continually like. How much do I let go and trust God with? How much do I set back, and how much do I push forward? And I know that that's a it depends question, I'm sure, but I just wonder what your thoughts are about that.
So that's really good. I would like to think that I've gotten perhaps a little bit of wisdom imparted to me on this, and I've grown in this. And it's something that I've always struggled with and sought after, trying to find that balance between strength and surrender. I think that's kind of a good way to summarize a lot of great words that you put in there. So, and it really comes back to me understanding, why do you want to or need to do that thing that you need to do? And to me, it comes back, I think, ultimately to service. We are called to serve others and to love others, even our enemies. And I'm not going to be able to serve anybody, including myself, unless I have some strength to give me the ability to do so. And, that strength can be many things.
Yeah, that's an interesting word by itself.
So that always needs to be balanced, I think, is like, why do you need strength? Well, you need to be able to serve. So what were some of the other words that you...
Well, I want to say something.
A couple of them perked my ears, please.
Well, the strength, like, it takes more strength for me to let go and trust God than it does for me to have just pure grit in moving forward on something. So like you said, balancing strength and surrender. Well, surrendering for me is the thing that requires strength.
So I'm the exact opposite.
Really? Okay. Let me go back to those words you were asking.
Sure. But if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
I find in myself that when my batteries are completely depleted and I look back at my day or my week and I'm just like, man, I am just run down. I am just completely rubbed to a stump. What is going on? that is when I have not surrendered. When I am just using brunt force.
Yeah.
It's usually and it's depleting me. If I'm using just brunt force, guttural strength, and it's depleting me, that is a red flag indicator that I may be off the right path. Yeah. And I have forced myself sometimes to be like, okay, I just need a day. I just need to stop. I need to read. I need to pray. I just need to do nothing, reevaluate. And sometimes, thankfully, by the grace of God, I'll be like, okay, well, I should not have been doing that thing that I was just toiling against. And if I can shift gears a little bit, that surrender helps me to not just keep beating my head against a wall with no benefit. Does that resonate?
Yes, because that must be what Scripture talks about, running with endurance, because beating your head against the wall and having brute force on your own is not going to work, in my opinion. But if I'm not leaving him out and I'm trusting him and I'm working hard at the same time, and he's still part of the picture, right? I'm not leaving him out and this isn't me just doing this. Then there's like this added strength, which might sort of maybe kind of describe that running with endurance. Is that in Ephesians? Where is that?
Finish the race, the cloud of witnesses.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what that made me think of.
But we need to have that strength, and we are given that strength by the grace of God. But it at least for me, we better be directing it towards the right destination.
Yeah. Let me go back to that list again and see what. Let's see. How do you personally reconcile strength with humility, preparation with surrender, and action with trust in God?
I think, and again, I know you said, it depends, which is the right answer to any complex question. you really need, I really need a mix. I need a stew pot of all of those things, or else I definitely get off track. Trust is a big one. How can you trust that you're on the right path? And, something I struggle with a lot is lean not on your own understanding, because I'm a very analytical, heady kind of a guy that just wants to get lost in my own matrix of decision trees and what ifs. And sometimes part of that surrender, that trust is just shutting everything off, taking a breath, pressing pause, and making sure that through asking those why questions, that something I'm trying to do is good, true, beautiful.
Have you ever had a moment or a period in your life, a season in your life where you definitely weren't trusting? Like, have you always been a follower of Christ? Have you always been in the Word? Or
I have not. No. So I actually came to Christ kind of later in my life, and strangely enough, my path to Christ actually completely mirrors my path to valuing firearms training and self-defense in a very weird way. Yes.
Yeah.
So I had grown up in church. We went every now and then, never missed a Christmas or an Easter, and went every now and then, but I did not have a personal relationship. I obviously did not understand at that age. Very similar to, I grew up around guns. I always grew up around guns. And, my dad is a decorated Army infantry veteran. So we would go out to grandma's farm a lot, and we were always safe. He taught me safety first and foremost, but it was plinking at cans, taking care of grandma's groundhogs out in the cattle field. Certainly anything close to training, which, hey, we're young, we're little, that's probably kind of how it should be for a while. So I always like that parallel of, I always grew up around guns, and I kind of grew up in the church. It's like, okay, well, tell me more. Tell me something concrete about that. So I was not a Christian as I went through, especially my college years and whatnot. And by the grace of God, I met who became my beautiful bride, Joanna. And it wasn't until we were dating for a little bit less than a year, and I proposed to her, and she accepted, and we're on the path for, blissful marriage and family and those kinds of things. And a couple months after we got engaged, I remember I literally broke out in a cold sweat and had a panic moment of saying something like, holy crap, I'm about to be a husband. And don't get me wrong, I've had great role models. My father is the absolute best husband and father of anybody that I've ever witnessed in my entire life. But I wonder, every young person, when they're about to embark on a new journey, a new stage of life, how that affects them. Well, for me, it was, holy crap, I'm about to be a husband. What the heck does that look like? And, not right at the same time, but very close to that, I distinctly remember that there were two things that occurred to me. Is one, okay, I've always been around guns. I own guns. I didn't have a concealed carry license because Ohio didn't have it for a very long time. Something that a husband is supposed to do is to be able to protect his family. So I went out and sought some training for that kind of very cliche reason. And then over time realized, okay, this is important for so many reasons that you and I have already talked about. This is something that I want to pursue. And that led me down the journey that's brought me to where I am now of just 24 years of training in the instructor path and being around that. So that exactly parallels almost when I woke up in a cold sweat. I said, holy crap, I'm about to be a husband. What does that look like? And it occurred to me, very cliche, oh, good families go to church and read the Bible. So I just started on my own reading the Bible that I'd had since I was in high school. And through reading scripture, I didn't have any kind of, huge conversion epiphany moment or anything like that. I truly got saved by reading the word and just by actually reading my Bible for the first time and coming to realize that it is true.
Was the difference in reading the Bible, though? What was the difference this time? Because you said that you'd gone through the motions when you were younger.
Yeah.
What do you think it was that... were you seeking to understand this time, or?
For sure, I was trying to understand, and I wasn't just trying to fight against it, or not that I was trying to prove it wrong, growing up. But I mean, the real answer is I was just ready. That was when I was called. I was ready, but I was out of my own head in just trying to read it in an academic way, almost like a historical way, like I'd read other books.
Yeah.
And I had my why defined, that I was trying to figure out, is this going to be a path for me? That if I want to learn what it means to be a good husband, is this a potential avenue? And for anybody listening out there, I can 100% confirm, yes. Not that I live up to that standard. I fall short every single day, but that standard is there, and it's something that we should all strive for.
A little birdie told me that one glance at seeing the way that your kids interact with you tells them that you're absolutely authentic and a wonderful husband and father. And it's just very apparent. So you must be doing something right.
That means more than you can know. I mean, our home and our family is our first mission field. So that thank you for sharing that. That fills the batteries.
Yeah. Well, those are things that you should know. And I'm curious about, was your wife also a Christian, or did you guys grow closer together through that, or what did that look like?
We absolutely did. So she, and I don't want to speak for her story. Maybe she should be here to tell it for herself, but she was kind of born and raised all through Catholic school. So her family is very devout Catholic, but she was not a believing Christian. And it was, us sitting together and me back in that time saying, hey, I'd really like for us to find a church that we can have as a family, because stupidly, we didn't talk about religion much before we were engaged. And that's just because it wasn't important really to either of us. So it's just something that never came up. That's probably an important conversation you want to have with somebody that you're thinking about marrying. So in searching for kind of our family church, something we can do together, we started kind of doing the church hop thing. And it started out where one Sunday we would go to Catholic Mass, and then the next Sunday I would choose a church that was nearby, and we'd kind of flip flop. And it is really interesting because, I'm sure my wife wouldn't mind me telling this story, but early on, after going to a Latin Catholic Mass on one Sunday, and then the next Sunday we'd walk in somewhere that I was interested in learning about, and my wife would walk in and see a drum set and be like, nope, I'm out. Like, this, not the one. But thankfully, after searching for about 6 months or so, we found the church that we've been at for 15 years, something like that. But
Wow.
yeah, so we were both baptized in that church, and it's really been a wonderful place for our kids to grow up.
Are you part of the security team there? I'm curious.
I am actually, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
actually one of our leads. We do have a safety team at our
That's awesome.
church. Yeah.
Is
I
there,
always consider us ushers first. We're there
yeah,
to greet people with a smile and welcome them in, because
yeah,
it's definitely an interesting dynamic of all are and should be welcome in a church. But
yeah.
at the same time, you have a dual rule of trying to keep people safe.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think that is a really important role in the church. And yeah, cool. Well, let's land the plane with where people can find you, because I think after the conversation that I had with you today, I definitely am more inclined to want to train with you, Mike.
Well, that'd be great.
I bet I'm not the only one. So you guys have a website and social media. Could you shout that out for the people that are listening and not watching?
Absolutely. You can find all of our events on traingunset.com. Our Instagram is at gunset_official, and Facebook is at traingunset. And also check out the 52-week challenge Facebook page.
Yeah. And are you going to be out and about this year? Where can people, they just need to come to you, or will you be in other locations as well?
Well, I've done quite a bit of traveling already this
Yeah.
spring and early summer. So I did tell the wife that I would take just a small pause, but
Yeah.
all of our instructors travel. I travel, so I don't have anything on the books until till next spring for travel. We do have July 19th. Our home base is Xenia, Ohio, right outside of Dayton, Ohio. July 19th is my tactical rifle standards class, where we try to connect some of these philosophical and especially historical context to the importance of the rifle craft.
That sounds really interesting. And will you, I don't know if you know next year, but you guys were definitely at a Girl in a Gun National Conference this year. And was there another place you went to?
I was at TACCon.
Oh, yeah.
Went to TACCon, traveled to North Carolina. So it's been a busy spring, which is fantastic.
It's a wild ride, isn't it? It's a great and
is.
wonderful wild ride. That's what I've experienced, at least. And it feels like it is turbocharging and getting even more exciting. And I'm really looking forward to continuing training and seeing all of my friends on the road too. It's a really fun thing. So I really appreciate your time sharing your heart today. And I know I did ask you quite a few deep questions, but I just had the sense that wouldn't at all bother you. And I was really interested to find out what you really thought about a few things. And I know it's not all gun related, but really for me, it all ties together. And asking why, you're right, is the most important thing. And I appreciate you saying that. So this has been fun.
Thanks, Laura. I've really enjoyed it.